Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Anne-Marie and today I am sharing 4 masculine cards I made as part of my Altenew Educator Certification Program Level 2. I was required to create these cards using the themes birthday, encouragement, love or thinking of you, and anniversary. I love creating colourful cards, but this time I decided to challenge myself by doing a black and white colour scheme with silver as an accent colour. For my first card, I used the Modern Birthday Faux Letterpress embossing folder from Altenew. Using black cardstock, I ran this through my die cutting machine. I applied anti-static powder to the embossed card, then applied Versamark ink over the raised parts of the image by swiping the ink pad over the surface, then adding Nouveau Fine Detail Classic Silver embossing powder and using my heat tool to melt the powder until smooth and shiny. I then used a nesting circle die from my stash to die cut the image. Next, I embossed some Nina Classic Crest Solar White cardstock, 80 pound, using the Diamond Stars 3D embossing folder to give the background some more texture. I dragged the edge of a Versamark ink pad over the edges of the panel, then added silver embossing powder. I heat set that, and this helped to tie in the silver edges, silver details, and further enhance some of the texture in the background panel. I trimmed the white panel to 1/8 of an inch smaller than the black base, which is a standard A2 size of 5.5 by 4.25, and adhered it to the black panel. My focal circle image was adhered with foam tape to the center of the card. I just love the grungy yet sophisticated look of the finished card. For my next card, I used the swinking technique to apply Altenew black crisp dye ink in a mini ink cube directly to the card panel to create a distressed wood grain look. This is a quick and easy way to create an interesting background. I chose the Monstera Leaves 3D embossing folder to emboss a piece of black cardstock. I then gently rubbed my Versamark ink pad over the raised parts and sprinkled small amounts of silver embossing powder over that so that some of the embossed details would show up but not change the leaves to a solid silver colour. I cut out the leaves and arranged them along the left and bottom sides, popping a few up with foam tape and changing my arrangement a few times before I was happy. The sentiment comes from the Fancy Greeting stamp set. I used silver cardstock from my stash, stamped the sentiment using VersaFine Onyx black ink with an acrylic block. But as the cardstock is very slick and shiny, I mucked up a few attempts before using my trusty Mini Misty stamping tool so that I could stamp the image a few times to create a clear sentiment. I used clear embossing powder to seal the ink and prevent smudging. I fussy cut the image, matted it on black cardstock, and then cut around it, leaving a small shadow border. I then adhered the sentiment to the right side with foam tape. For the third card, I die cut 3 panels from the Garden Trellis cover die using black cardstock. I adhered them using a spray adhesive. I could have used small dots of liquid glue, but spray adhesive is quicker and less messy. Another option would have been to use double-sided adhesive sheets. Next, I cut 2 oval shapes from black and white cardstock, adhered them together to form the base of a focal point on the card. The sentiment is cut from the Thinking of You script word die. For the sub-sentiment, I used a stamp from Starry Flowers stamp set which I stamped in VersaVine onyx black ink onto white cardstock, and I nestled these under the die. I think the black and white is so striking. What do you think? I would love it if you leave me a comment below. For my final card, which is the anniversary theme, I chose to use the Mini Moon stamp set. I used a piece of 6x6 paper from the acrylic pour paper pad, trimmed it down to just smaller than an A4 size, about 1/8 of an inch smaller. This is a white panel so that the small white border would be visible. I felt like this background looked a bit like space or a galaxy and would work well with the moon theme. I stamped the word moon using Versamark embossing ink, added silver embossing powder and heat set it. The layered moon stamp was stamped using Altenew silver stone and industrial diamond dye inks. The rest of the sentiment was stamped in onyx black ink, the moon image raised with phone tape, and the whole sentiment matted on a 1.5 inch strip of black cardstock. I die cut the happy anniversary from black cardstock using the Essential Sentiment strips die set and added this to a strip of white cardstock so that the letters would show up well. I use this versatile die set really often, especially for masculine cards. So these are my 4 masculine cards complete. I really hope that you have enjoyed this video and that I have inspired you to try some monochromatic cards. Thank you for watching and happy crafting.